I have a very simple question for you. Just normal, ordinary small talk, making conversation type of stuff. What is a god?
Oh,
All? Like, God is everything? Okay, well, if God is everything, then the question is kind of meaningless, right? We don't really need to talk about it if it's everything,
yes.
right? It's just there all the time. It's like saying, what is the universe,
Yes,
basically? It's like, it's what exists, basically, right? It is the set that contains all other subsets. But maybe we can give a more useful and specific definition or description.
Some people have individuality interpretation
Yeah.
about God,
Yeah.
and this is interesting.
Yes, that is true. There are many religions, many forms of spirituality, some which believe in one God, some which believe in many, some which don't use the word God at all. So, in a general sense, if you ask someone if they believe in God or their thoughts about God, what are we talking about? What is a God in a general sense?
Oh,
Again, not a very useful definition. I would say that a God, generally speaking, is any form of intelligence or volition vastly beyond, more capable, superior to your own, such that you cannot properly understand it. Any kind of being, I guess you could say, that is beyond your cognitive capacity to fully understand. That's a fairly good definition of the concept of a god, I think. So think about it going in the other direction. I have rabbits outside.
mm-hmm.
Do my rabbits know that I exist?
What?
Do my rabbits know that I exist?
I don't know.
Well, they react to my existence. That's clear, right? Like when I go out there to feed them, they get really excited and they run over to the door, right? That much is obvious, right? They clearly react to my existence. So on some level, they are aware that I exist. But what do they really know about me?
What rabbits know about you?
Yeah, what do my rabbits know about me? What do they think about me?
How I can know?
It's a good question, right? We can try to infer certain basic instinctual things, like they clearly recognize me as a source of food, right? Because I regularly bring them food.
Maybe rabbits it's most maybe most smart than me.
You think rabbits are smarter than you?
I don't know.
I think you don't give yourself enough credit. I think you're smarter than a rabbit.
But you don't know what rabbit is thinking.
Right. But at the very least, we know that they are capable of responding in a predictable fashion to my existence, right? But they probably don't know where the food comes from. They have no conception of like farming plants, carrots and lettuce and various things, the hay that we feed them. They don't know where that comes from, right? They just know that we bring it, right? They probably don't know anything about this house, right? Even if they can see the outside of the house a little bit from their pen, they don't know what's going on inside the house, right? And even if you brought them inside the house, do you think they would understand 99% of the things around them? I have several cats in this house too, and I would say probably in general a cat is smarter than a rabbit, and a dog too. And the cats have lived inside their house their whole life, right? So they're used to the house. And they certainly know who I am, right? Because they've spent their whole life with me. But do you think they know what I'm doing when I sit on my laptop for hours at a time? Do you think they even conceive of this as something I'm interacting with?
You do, but you don't know what Greg is doing in own business.
I mean, I don't understand what the cat is doing.
Yes.
Well, I understand a lot of what the cat is doing.
Huh?
I can understand a lot of what the cat is doing, maybe not everything. But because I am...
What happened in inside the heart, this...
Their head, right. Right. It's true, I cannot be inside a cat's head. But I can predict that they don't have a very sophisticated use of language. And I can observe their behavior externally and come up with ways to describe the impulses, the needs that drive their behavior, such as hunting, playing, sleeping, socializing, mating, right? So because I am more intelligent than a cat, I can understand more of the cat's behavior than the cat can understand of my behavior. I would have to guess that the cat does not recognize that I'm interacting with this sophisticated information processing box we call a computer. It just sees that I'm sitting down in one place. And for the cat, that's okay because it just wants to come and sit on my lap. It doesn't really matter what else I'm doing to the cat. It just knows that there's a place for it to come sit on me.
What about different animals? For example, dolphin.
Dolphins, apes, elephants are very intelligent, right? So could they understand more than a cat or a rabbit? Probably, but how much still? Right? There are lots of researchers have worked a really long time with apes to teach them sign language, for instance. They can learn basic signs with their hands, usually just for items or actions like food, gives food, want food. You know, it's very, very simple sentences, but they can't really do complex, sophisticated language. If we raised a chimpanzee, a type of monkey, in this house with us, do you think the monkey would eventually come to understand what a computer is and what I'm doing with it when I sit there putting my fingers on it over and over again for hours at a time?
But you know what? It's very simple actions when we take some or put some movie. It's very simple, and maybe some animals have a upstairs in intellects than us.
So you think that perhaps they're smarter than we think they are?
I don't know.
Okay.
I can't be sure.
How would we find evidence for that? How would we demonstrate that? We would have to see them do something that requires intelligence. Then we would know for sure that they have intelligence, more intelligence than we thought, right? My cat is a great hunter, a great jumper, a great climber. My cat is very good at a lot of things, much better than I am at many things. But most of those things don't require much intelligence. My cat jumps on top of the refrigerator. That's not an act of intelligence. Well, he's intelligent enough to see the top of the refrigerator, but he's a good jumper and a good climber, much better than I. I couldn't jump on top of the refrigerator, right? So, but does that mean he's smarter than me? Or it just means that his body is more specialized for jumping on top of tall things? If he climbs a tree faster than me, if he catches a mouse that I couldn't catch.
So that means if God does this, then he's smart than you, smart than me.
If he what?
If cat jump on the fridge.
Well, I wouldn't say that that's a demonstration of intelligence. What would be a clear demonstration of intelligence would be complex problem solving, the ability to build or use difficult tools. Like a computer is essentially just a complicated tool. But even our simple hand tools like hammers and saws that we use in our workshop, no other animal can use those the way we do. Apes can do a little bit with like sticks and maybe very, very crude spears, I think. But our ability to make and use tools is a clear demonstration of intelligence because it requires us to think, to create abstractions about how things work. I don't know if my cat is capable of doing that at all.
I know one. I don't know anything.
Huh?
Я знаю, что ничего.
Я знаю, что ничего не знаю. I know that I know nothing. Socrates, right? Socrates. So, if we can try to imagine what our lives look like to the animals that we share it with, right? Animals much less intelligent than us. They can probably only understand a tiny fraction of our existence, particularly the rabbits. To the rabbits, I probably just exist as some mysterious, tall being that arrives at random intervals to deliver food, right? I don't think they can understand much more than that about me. So try to imagine if there were a creature, a being, a life form of any kind that was as far more advanced beyond us as we are beyond rabbits. How would we perceive such a creature?
The rabbits know, but some another type, maybe.
What do you mean?
Maybe rabbits don't smart than you,
Aren't smarter than me? Okay.
but maybe some type of another animals can be smarter than you.
Smarter than me. Well, we don't know of any animals on Earth that are smarter than us. As far as we can tell, we are definitely the smartest animals on Earth.
Because we don't know anything.
Well, we know a few things. We've seen a lot of the Earth.
But we don't know about human back. What it's
Mind, brain,
brain.
yeah.
We have a small piece. And how we can know about another, what is it?
Mind or brain? Yes. Yes. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. That if there is someone or something much more intelligent than us, much more advanced than us, there's really no way for us to know very much about it, unless it works very hard to make us know about it. If it wants us to know a lot of things about it, then it could probably find some ways to present its existence in ways we could understand in very simplified ways, maybe in instinctual, primal ways. But if it really is, like, let's say that there is life in the universe, aliens that are much, much older than us, that have existed for billions of years since the beginning of the universe. If they are much, much more intelligent and advanced and sophisticated than us, it's reasonable to assume we would not be very good at perceiving or understanding their existence. Again, unless they worked very hard to make it visible and understandable to us based on the limitations of our intelligence. In the same way that my cats and my rabbits can perceive me in a very limited way. And isn't that a pretty good description for how most religions, most forms of spirituality talk about God? God is this mysterious, enigmatic, all-powerful force that governs the universe and interferes with our lives in ways we can only just barely begin to perceive or understand. God works in mysterious ways. And really the only difference between what I'm saying and what most religions say is that their God is supernaturally derived, meaning he somehow exists outside of the observable universe and the laws that govern the universe. And the type of superior will I'm describing is just a product of the universe. It exists in the same universe we do. It's just not something we can easily perceive or understand. There's a difference between supernatural and so exceptional and beyond the ordinary, the normal, that it's very difficult for us to understand it. The difference between supernatural and supernormal is the way that Isaac Asimov put it in a book I'm currently reading called Extraterrestrial Civilization. They have the book around here somewhere. Anyway, so if we think of a God as any kind of sufficiently more advanced intelligence or will, then for all we know, the universe is full of gods. We just can't see them, or we can only see and understand a tiny, tiny bit of them, in the same way that rabbits or mice or bugs can only just barely perceive and understand us.
You think we can see this?
I think we are limited by our cognition and our senses. Our brains and our eyes can only see so much.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why everyone's descriptions of gods are all so different, because we all have different limitations on our perception and our understanding. And none of us could ever completely understand it or describe it perfectly.
I think we want to see God that can see this, but who don't see anything that don't see God.
Well, you would certainly need to have an open mind, right? You would need to be curious and open to new possibilities. If you think you know how everything works, you close your mind to the possibility of new ideas, new experiences, new observations, emergent things, right? And it's very arrogant to think you know how anything works in an absolute sense, right? Or that there can't be more things you haven't learned yet, right? And so when we're talking about the biggest, most complex subject in the universe, no one can possibly say, yep, I figured it out. This is exactly how it works, right? And that's what most organized religions do, isn't it? They try to tell you exactly who God is and how he works and how he wants you to pray and how he wants you to live and all the endless rules. Well, the good news, I think, about this interpretation, if there really are gods vastly more powerful than us in the universe and potentially even interfering with our lives, it's pretty safe to assume that they are benevolent gods, that they don't wish us harm. Because if they did, they already would have destroyed us. It would be very, very easy for them to. They would have absolute power over our lives. So the fact that they allow us to continue to live implies that for some reason they like us, or they don't care at all. Maybe they just leave us alone. But if they were actively malicious, we wouldn't exist. They would have destroyed us already. So that oddly gives me a little bit of hope to think about that. That we don't understand the larger cosmological structure of intelligence and civilization well beyond our little human level. That there could be powers way, way beyond what we understand. One genre of fiction that covers this well is called cosmic horror, like Cthulhu and H.P. Lovecraft. Cosmic horror, like the idea that there are monstrous creatures all throughout the universe, way more terrifying, way more scary and destructive than you can possibly imagine. Try to imagine that the universe is much more destructive and terrifying than you can even perceive. But the opposite could also be true, that the universe is a much nicer place than you can possibly imagine, full of nice creatures that want to help you, maybe. Maybe that's where our conception of angels and demons come from.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should call it cosmic hope instead of cosmic horror. There's a reason to be optimistic about the macrocosmic scale of society and the long-term future of everything in the universe. Anyway, so that's one way to think about the concept of a god. I find that to be a more useful one than the way most religiously inclined people do. We are like gods to them, to the cats. We are benevolent gods to them.
What is human?
His name is Stanley and Dexter, brothers.
Dexter.
Yes.